Rav Isaac Sher had a word. The Gemara says, Al toimar yefshi b'bosa chazer. A person should not say that he doesn't like to eat chazer, but rather he wants chazer, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him not to eat it. And the Gemara says, it learns it out from the Pasuk, V'avdil eschem min ha'amim li'yosli. I separated you from the nations to be mine, Hashem says. And Rabbi Isaac Sher has a kasha. How do we learn out from the Pasuk, V'avdil eschem min ha'amim li'yosli, that a person should not say Yefshi b'bosa chazer? And he said the teretz is like this, that Yefshi b'bosa chazer doesn't mean I don't like chazer. You either like it or you don't, and there's nothing wrong with not liking chazer. But rather it means that I'm not going to eat chazer b'shita. B'shita because I'm a Jew and Jews don't eat chazer. Different people do different things. There are certain people who don't like, I don't know what, in America we don't eat dogs. In Vietnam they eat dogs. Jews don't eat chazer. It's a Jewish thing. Yefshi b'bosa chazer. I'm not going to do it. Don't say that. Don't say that because you're Jewish you're not going to eat chazer. Rather, the only reason why Jews don't eat chazer is for one reason. The difference between you and the guy. The reason why you don't eat chazer and the guy does is only one thing. Lihi, because Hashem said so. Hashem separated us from the nations to be his. And therefore, a person should not say, I have a Jewish identity. I'm a proud Jew. I don't eat chazer. I follow Jewish things. I do Jewish things. But it has nothing to do with Hashem. Don't say that. Rather say that without HaKadosh Baruch Hu, except for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we would be the same as everybody else. Al toimar yefshi b'bosa chazer. Don't say I'm not going to eat chazer because I'm Jewish. The only reason I'm not eating chazer because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said. V'avdil eschem min ha'amim. The difference between the Jews and the Amim is only one thing. Lihi yosli. We are Hashem's. This means that the French people are different than the English people because they have borders, they have customs, they have cultures. The British people are different than the Italian people for the same reasons, maybe more. But Klal Yisrael is only different from the Goyim because we are Hashem's. That's it. There is no other reason why a Jew should do anything Jewish, except for Lihi Yosli. What comes out from this word is that there are two ways to shmad the Jews. You can shmad the Jews by making them, by being a vatal of Avdul Eskem and Haman. We're not going to separate you from the guy. You're going to assimilate. You're going to be like a guy. Or you could shmad the Jews by saying, I'm masking to Avdul Eskem and Haman. I'm masking. Jews are different than everybody else, but without the Lihi Yosli. We're going to leave the V'avdil Eschem and Haman, but we're going to take away the Lihi Yosli. We're going to be proud Jews. But you don't need Hashem for that. They're proud British people, they're proud French people, they're proud Jews. We're going to be proud Jews, we're going to be good Jews, we're going to do a whole bunch of Jewish things, including not eat chazer, for example. All sorts of Jewish things. But without Lihi Yosli. Without Lihi Yosli, you shmadded the Jews. You destroyed the difference, the Havdalah ben Yisrael Am. We're starting the sefer Bayos Hazman, but I'm not going to go in order. First of all, the sefer is not in a particular order. It is, to an extent, a chronological order, but only to a small extent. There's a lot of overlap between pieces because some things were written, they were shmuzin. The yesod of the Bayos Hazman, the one thing that he repeats more than anything else is this yesod. The Zionist shmad was different than the shmad of everybody else. All the other shmadniks wanted to shmad the Jews by trying to convince them to be mevatel the v'avdel eschem in hamim. Assimilate. You marry goyim. Don't do mitzvahs. And so there's less of a havdolah between Ben Yisrael Yamim. The Zionist Shmad was different. The Zionist Shmad was not mevatel v'avdel eschem in ha'amim. It was mevatel v'li yosli. Fakert, be a Jew. Be a good Jew. Don't be like the Goyim. Don't be one of the Goyim. Be a Jew. Do Jewish things. What Jewish things I will see. But be a Jew. Do Jewish things. Be proud that you're Jewish. Be a strong Jew. But one thing you don't need, the Lihi Yosli. Klal Yisrael is no longer, the difference between Yisrael and Amim is no longer Lihi Yosli. Could also be Lihi Yosli. You could be frum also. But you don't need the Lihi Yosli. There could be something besides Lihi Yosli. I'm going to say, because I'm a Yid. You don't have to. To be eating chazah is not necessarily a Yiddish zach. But it's very possible for a person to say, I will not eat chazah because I'm a Jew, and I'm a proud Jew, and Jews don't eat chazah. But you're leaving Hashem out of the equation. That was the Zionist Shmad, and that's what made it more insidious than any of the other previous Shmads that happened to the Jews. The other Shmad said, don't do mitzvahs. Don't be a Jew. Here, they said, be a Jew. But they defined what being a Jew is. In English, by the way, this Shmad, there's a shita that such a type attitude is called. It's called nationalism. And Jewish nationalism means that the Jews are a nation like everybody else. And there are things that are exclusively Jewish. There's a Jewish culture, there's a Jewish personality, there's a Jewish land, there's a Jewish language. The Jewish land is Eretz Yisrael. The Jewish language is, well, Lashon HaKodesh, which is not really a speakable language, so they're going to make it a speakable language. But what the Zionists did was, they made a shmad that said the Jews should be Jews. Here's the description. The people who created the nationalist idea, Hatziyoni, the Zionist one, they saw that we're going to change the Jews into Jews without Lihi Yosli, using a language and using a particular land. In order to attract the heart of the Jews, in order to convince the Jews to become Zionists. Instead of the Lihi Yosli, the Torahs Hashem and Emunah, Lachu lahem b'susafosam k'dei lahafitz al yoda shitas hakfira esfas kodshenu asher bo nitna Torah Yisrael. They took for the language. Every part of nationalism, being a nation, is you have a language. The French have French, the Spanish have Spanish, the Italians have Italian. The Americans have English. Could be more than one people have English, and there are countries with more than one language. But nationalities in general, one of the main unifying factors for a nation that makes them into a nation, they have a language. Loshen means a nationality or a people. There were no real nationalities in the sense in those days, but it's a group of people united by a language. They took Lashon HaKodesh and they said, be a Jew, speak Lashon HaKodesh. Or our new version of it, that's a speaking language. Ula Oretz, for their land, because another thing that nations have, French have France, Italians have Italy, the English have England. Ula Oretz, Bochru Lohem Ba'eretz Kodshenu, V'horetz Asher Ashchina Shuya Bo, etc., etc. Asher ahavoso tluya b'leiv kol adam Yisrael. The Jews love L'shon HaKodesh. The Jews love Eretz Yisrael. But before the Zionim, it was only because Lihiyos Li, because it was Hashem's land, because the Kedusha that Hashem instilled within it. The Zionists said, be a Jew, love the Jewish land, love the Jewish language, love being Jewish, love being the Jewish people. But the Havdalah, V'avdel eschem min ha'amim, stops there. You don't need a Lihiyos Li. Yishuv ha'aretz is from the mitzvahs ha'gdolah b'yoser. Ha'yoser gdolas v'rabbim gdolah Yisrael hishtadlu l'kaima gam achshav l'maisa. Living in Eretz Yisrael is choshev to Jews, but only because of the Lihiyos Li. The Zionists said, be Jewish, live in Eretz Yisrael. V'avdel eschem min ha'amim. You're not a French, you're not a Russian, you're not Spanish. But they stopped before the Lihiyos Li. You could be frum and be a Zionist, a nationalist, because you say there is the national aspect of Eretz Yisrael and the national aspect of L'shon HaKodesh, the national aspect of Klal Yisrael, or as they prefer to refer to it, Am Yisrael. And there's also a Lihiyos Li. But V'avdel eschem min ha'amim Lihiyos Li means that is the only aspect of Jewishness that exists. And therefore, says Rav Reuven, therefore they found this klipas noiga. They don't need to give in to religion at all. To them, the language and the land, and even Klal Yisrael itself, are secular things. Like France, the French have France, we have Eretz Yisrael. The French speak French, we speak L'shon HaKodesh, or again, Ivrit. They don't need at all to compromise with religion. Be a Jew. Be a good Jew. Live in the Jewish land, speak the Jewish language. And therefore, Rav Reuven says, the natural ahava that Jews have for Eretz Yisrael and the natural ahava that Jews have for Yeshiva Eretz Yisrael will help Zionism. All you have to do is tweak it a little. At that point in time, all the Gedolim and all the Goinim came out and answered. Because Yetzu HaGoinim HaGedolim, the Goinim and the Gedolim then came out, they assered having, the Gedolim assered having anything to do with these people. Ki ro bezeh, reform, Yoyse Gedolim izu shel ha-reformim. This is a worse reform than the reform. The reform and all the other shmadniks said, don't be Jewish, be less Jewish. And if you are a proud Jew, you are a good Jew, you want to be a Jew, you will resist. But the Zionists said, be Jewish. Live in the Jewish land, speak the Jewish language, be part of the Jewish nation, but from a secular perspective. Even if you don't want to eat chaza, let's say you don't want to eat chaza, don't eat chaza. But besides religious reason for not eating chaza, maybe there's a nationalist reason too. Now, truth is, they don't care about chaza, but it's just a mashal. And this is worse than the reform, because even if you want to be Jewish, a good Jew, you may not necessarily realize that you need to resist this. You may believe the illusion that this is something Jewish that the Zionists want you to do and want you to be. And they say it is. So whereas all the other shmads were open shmads, we want you to change. We want you to be less Jewish. The Zionist shmad was, we don't want you to change. We want you to be more Jewish. And this was a bigger reform than the reform. We are a national people. We're not an Am HaTorah. It's not only Lihiyos Li. Etc., etc. This is what Rav Saadia Gaon said. Klal Yisrael is only a nation because of the Torah. There's nothing else, there's no other element, no other aspect of Jewishness. except the Torah. The Zionist shmad was that the way French people feel French, the way Italian people feel Italian, the Jewish people should feel Jewish. The way French people feel a connection with La Patria, their fatherland, and Russian people feel a connection with Mother Russia, Jews will feel a connection with Eretz Yisrael. The way French people would kiss the ground of France, and Russian people would kiss the ground of Russia. Now, not all nations did that, but some did. Jews will kiss Eretz Yisrael. This reform, this nationalism, the aveira that this entails is, in Lashon HaKodesh, avodah zarah. And Rav Reuven repeats this many times. Page Tzadi Zayin. Me'achdus Hashem v'soyrotzoi yoytze. From the Achdus Hashem and His Torah comes out. She'osur la'avoid alilim, you're not allowed to worship idols. V'cholilo lonu la'asois matoris acherois v'tachlisois noisofos l'Torah. And chas v'sholem that we should add to our Jewish identity anything besides Torah. Chas v'sholem, we should aspire as Jews to anything except Torah. If you want to have a lot of money, to have a lot of luxuries, it may not be osur. Yes, be osur, but it may not be osur. But that's not, you don't aspire to that as a Jew. If you like vanilla ice cream, you don't like it because you're Jewish. The only thing that you aspire to, the only thing that you do, the only thing that you set goals for, the only objectives and goals you have as Jews are Torah and mitzvahs, nothing else. Chas v'sholem, we should add anything to our Jewish identities. Shezehu shnius v'hepoch ha'achdus u'kmoi ha'natzrus Hashem asarnu nafshenu l'bli lahaskim lo. This is avodah zarah. It's like Christianity. This is like Christianity. You're adding something to your Jewish identity, or changing your Jewish identity, or even adding, is adding an avodah zarah into your avodah. Is avodah zarah. V'chol hadvarim ha'ktoivim v'hakdoshim sheish lanu, all the good and holy things we have, mimkor echad heim boyim, v'el matara achas heim aviyim, shekulam boyim Hashem echad, emunasoi v'soyrasoi. Anything that you use the adjective Jewish for has to be part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Ratzon and the Torah. Whenever you describe anything as Jewish, it means the Ratzon Hashem. If you describe anything else as Jewish, besides Torah and HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Torah, Yisrael v'Iraisa, v'Kudsha B'Chu Chadhu, anything that you describe as Jewish besides Iraisa v'Kudsha B'Chu, and I'm using that interchangeably here, that's Mamish Avodah Zarah, Mamish Shnius. And therefore, Ukegoin, Midois Toivois, Ahavas Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael, Shena Kodesh, Shem Dram Kedoshim Oid, Aval Raka Chelik Mahatoyer V'loik Matoris B'fnei Atzman. They have only value to us as a Chelik of the Torah. That kiss that the Jew kisses Eretz Yisrael is not the same kiss as the Frenchman kisses France. The Jew that kisses Eretz Yisrael kisses it the same way the Jew kisses his tefillin, the same way the Jew kisses his esrog. And if a Jew kisses Eretz Yisrael the same way the French kisses his land, that's rooted in avodah zarah. That's changing Jewish identity, adding an element to your Jewish identity that doesn't exist. Shim hein matoris b'fnei atzmoin harei zu hakchosha ba'achdus haboirei. For example, Ahavas Yisrael, shikfulu muchufeles, kisheba, when it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu's midas, that you don't want to be mitzar somebody else, when it comes from mahu afata, mahu rachum, afata hayei rachum, that's an ahava that elevates the nefesh. V'loi besur mator shel umiyus, besur toisves lamunis Hashem v'tzoyrasa. Ahavas Yisrael, the reason why I am connected to another Jew, the reason why I love another Jew, the only thing that I have in common with the other Jew as a Jew is Hashem and the Torah. If I love another Jew the way a Frenchman loves another Frenchman, that's not Ahavas Yisrael. Ahavas Yisrael is not only who you love, it's how you love. You can even love a Jew with a goyish love, with a love that's not a Ahavas Yisrael. If you love a Jew because you share the same soros, or you share the same race, or you share the same nationality, or whatever other imaginary connection that you have with him, that's not a Ahavas Yisrael. That's a goyish ahava that you direct towards a Jew. V'chein Ahavas Eretz Yisrael, shegedolim noshku es ofra kederach shenoshkim sefer Torah. They kissed its ground the way they kiss the sefer Torah. V'shtoikiku aleho b'kilyoy nefesh. V'hakol mimnei shekidsha HaKadosh Baruch Hu kedusha gedola, because the HaKadosh Baruch Hu sanctified it. V'chein l'shon HaKodesh, that we protected Lashon HaKodesh so much because of its kedusha. The Torah was given in Lashon HaKodesh. The world was created in Lashon HaKodesh, and through it we understand Torah. Aval hakol mibnei kedushasa ubishah shenira shetovi l'toitzois hafuchos. When Lashon HaKodesh is being used in a way that results in things other than or addition to the Torah and the Ritzayin Hashem, Shuveina Kadosh Lanu V'adarabba Os Hadibur B'Ivri Yosin Nimas Miloshen Acheres. Then, speaking Lashon HaKodesh in that way, as a nationalist thing, the way Frenchmen speak French is worse than a regular language. Mitzad Milas Haloshenu Kedushasa K'moshama HaRambam Ba'ovois. The Rambam says in Pirkei Avos that a Goyish song in Lashon HaKodesh is worse than a Goyish song in Arabic, because it is a perversion of Lashon HaKodesh. It's a degrading of Lashon HaKodesh. If you want to have a secular book, it's one thing, but if you keep the secular book in the Oren Kodesh, Chas v'Shalom, that's an Aveira. And if you use Lashon HaKodesh for stuff other than holy things, that's an Aveira as well. That's what the Rambam says. Again, on page Kuf Daled, V'hine yisoid emunosoi hu sh'Hashem echad ve'en zulosoi v'chol ha'nivra l'chvoidoi nivra. The side of Amunah is Hashem is one, and there's nothing else, and everything He created for His covet. And for to uphold this Amunah, we've sacrificed our lives for thousands of years. We as Jews have no other avoida and no other goal. We certainly have many holy things and holy actions. The fact that there are a lot of mitzvahs are not a stira to Hashem echad, ki hakol etzleinu mimkor echad neveya ve'el tachlis achas magia. Everything comes from Hashem, from the Torah, and it helps us get closer to Hashem. It comes from Hashem and helps us get closer to Hashem. Ulamoshel, Ahavas Yisrael. Ahavas Yisrael eineno etzleinu ahavas hatoyeles habo mihachesh bin hayovesh v'hakar v'loy ahavas harachmonus shebo mi'iyechoylus liros tsar hazulas v'gam loy mishituf hageza oy tzoris mishutofos. Ahavas Yisrael does not come from just rachmonus on somebody, a human nature. Ahavas Yisrael does not come from shared experiences, or shared tzoros, or shared anti-Semitism. Ahavas Yisrael, the unity between one Jew and another, the love between one Jew and another, is not because we are of the same race, of the same geza, of the same family. Elazu ahava b'li mitzarim hanoivas mimkor hatoyim mimkor hachesed liYisrael sheim bonim l'mokoim v'hem b'chira hayitzira v'tachlisa. This zu ahava hamaviyah l'mesiras nefesh. Mesiras nefesh for the fingernail of another Jew. V'kol shkein bad rabim oy haklal kuloi. This is real Ahavas Yisrael. The Zionists made from Ahavas Yisrael an avodah zarah. That Jews are like French, and one Jew loves another Jew like one Frenchman loves another. They made an avodah zarah of Ahavas Yisrael. They made an avodah zarah of Eretz Yisrael. They made an avodah zarah of Klal Yisrael. Because Eretz Yisrael to them is an avodah beyond, outside of avodas Hashem. The love for Eretz Yisrael, the connection to Eretz Yisrael is not merely, and to the Freya, not at all, because it's a holy land that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us. It's because it's a national homeland. It is not, Eretz Yisrael is chas v'shalom, not to the Jews what France is to the French. The French don't have an Eretz Yisrael, not because Eretz Yisrael is more choshev than France. It's a different relationship. And the Zionists want to be a Jew, love the Jewish homeland. And the Jewish homeland is more choshev than the French homeland. But it's the Jewish homeland. They made Eretz Yisrael into an avodah zarah. And Ahavas Yisrael love another Jew the same way a Frenchman loves a Frenchman. Again, on page Ayin Tes, Ahavosoy laHashem tzricha liyois b'chol levovoy b'chol nafshoy b'chol ma'odoy. Vim ki yesh lanu avodos rabbos mechuyovois v'ahavois rabbos. We have a lot of things we love and a lot of things we have to do. Kagan Ahavas Chesed v'Ahavas Yisrael Ahavas Eretz Yisrael. Hine kulon mishorish echad hein yotzos. They all coming from one root. Miratzon habayre heboli de bitra de toirosoi. From the Ritzoin Hashem as expressed in the Torah, ki ha-Torah kula bo v'hi klula mahar bechalokim, etc. Ki ha-havas chesed hu ikar b'mitzvahs Hashem. V'chein mitam zeh hitztainu gedoleinu v'chol Yisrael v'havas Yisrael yosim mikol halu'umiyim shabanu. Our gedolim and our Yidden had a greater ahavas Yisrael more than any of the nationalists amongst us. Because everything comes mimnei shehi chelik ma'avodas Hashem. V'shorsho ha'am asher bacha by Hashem. Bonim la'Hashem. Achim hinenu b'mitzvahs. We are brothers only in mitzvahs. V'chein ahavas Eretz Yisrael. Hi mishum shehi Eretz HaKadosh asher nosan HaKadosh Baruch Hu li'am kodshoi. V'chein l'daber b'loshen HaKodesh. That the Rambam put amongst the mitzvahs, even though it's from the mitzvahs HaKalois. But it's all aval kol zeh keshu onaf me'amunas achdus haboirei. Aval im ha'odam magbil es avodas Hashem v'yahavosai. But if a person limits the avodas Hashem in terms of his Jewishness, she'eino l'chelik echad mimataras hodam v'avodosai. Ki hu milvad shu tzorach la'avodas Hashem. Hu tzorach la'asos chesed. We also have to be nice to people. Umilvad shu dati. Besides being religious, hari tzorach liyos gam lumi. You have to be a nationalist. Umilvad ahavas Hashem. Besides loving Hashem and the branches that come from Ahavas Hashem, we also have to love Eretz Yisrael. Besides Hashem, love Hashem. We also have to love Eretz Yisrael. To us, Ahavas Eretz Yisrael is a branch of Ahavas Hashem. But besides loving Hashem, you also have to love Eretz Yisrael per se. Meaning Yiddish or L'shon HaKodesh, whatever it is. If you're adding any holiness, meaning any Jewishness in this context, any part of your Jewish identity, to the land, the Loshen, to Ahavas Ha'am, Ahavas Yisrael, aside from which the Torah gave, that's Avodah Zarah, that's Emunas HaShituf. The biggest mitzvah becomes avodah zarah. The kol shekain. Sheish Hashem chisaron Torah miroiv haburos enoy maimin klal b'Torah min hashamayim. Certainly, if a guy doesn't believe in the Torah at all, a friar guy. V'chol inin hados enoy etzloi elaizer regish kechol ha'ergeshim. The religion is just another feeling. It's a social thing. Religion. An achdus of Jews. Yiddishkeit religion. And maybe he doesn't eat chazer. Maybe fasts on Yom Kippur. But not because Hashem said so. Fasts on Yom Kippur because it's our national custom. It's our heritage. V'hine Elohim minim gemurim. These are plain apikorsim. Because Yiddishkeit to them is only nationalism. This is Zionism. The first thing that comes out of this is that a non-frum person cannot have a Ahavas Yisrael. A non-frum person means someone who doesn't believe in the Torah. Because if he doesn't believe in the Torah, he doesn't love Hashem, he can't love Jews. If he doesn't believe in the mitzvah of Ahavas Yisrael, he can't have Ahavas Yisrael. If he doesn't believe Bonim Atem LaHashem, he can't have Ahavas Yisrael. He can't believe Jews are brothers. The Rambam says that the reason Jews are brothers is because Bonim Atem LaHashem, we have the same father. If you don't believe we have the same father, you don't believe in the brotherhood of Jews. In fact, you don't believe that Jews exist. Zionism says, no, Jews exist outside of Hashem, besides HaKadosh Baruch Hu, besides Kabbalah Satar, Jews exist. So people who say, this Friar guy, he's Friar, he doesn't believe in the Torah, he's Apikairis, maybe even Tini Shenishba, but he has a Havas Yisrael. He doesn't. He doesn't. He has a Goyisha Ahava, a social Ahava, not a Havas Yisrael. Havas Yisrael is a certain type of love. Has a social Ahava for an imaginary co-national in a nationality that doesn't exist, the Jewish nationality, and he loves this non-existent Jewish nationality and the Jews that comprise it, the same way the French people love other French people. It's not a Havas Yisrael. In fact, Reb Tzadok says more than this. Reb Tzadok in Sidkas HaTzadik. It's not more, it's the same thing, just expressed in a stronger way. Tolosh Ahavas Yesh. There are three loves. Ahavas HaTorah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'Yisrael. V'kulam Chad. They're all the same. It's all one love. Yadua b'Zohar, D'ho b'lo holoi sagi. That one without the other is useless. Ahavas Hashem Yisborach. Hu HaShoirish. Ahavas Hashem is the root of all of the loves. Ki Ahavas Yisrael Levad B'loi Hashem Yisborach is nothing, just Ahavas Chavrusa, V'hu Dor HaFloga, Shegam Kein Ahavu Chavrusa. It's just the love of Frenchmen, it's the Dor HaFloga. Without Hashem, it's not Ahavas Yisrael. Ahavas Torah B'loi Hashem Yisborach. You love Torah. The only reason we love Torah is because it comes from Hashem. But if somebody doesn't believe in Hashem, he doesn't love Hashem. Forget believe. He doesn't love Hashem. But he loves the Torah. Hainu ahavas hachochma bulvad. Zedor hamabel. If somebody does not love Hashem, forget believe in Hashem, he does not love Hashem, he does not have a Ahavas Yisrael. If somebody does not love Hashem, he does not have a Ahavas HaTorah. This was the Zionist Shmad. It was designed to make Jews into proud Jews, but an imaginary Jewish people that the Zionists invented. The only Jewish people that exist in reality is Yisrael Vayraisa V'Kudsha B'Chu Chadhu.